Tsukune Aono is dumb. He is so dumb that he couldn't even pass an entrance examination into high school. Now he's sent to a weird magical school and things begin to fall apart when he tries to clap this monster baddie. Tsukune, our protagonist, we see him in a school bus. This ugly cow had big dreams for high school, but those dreams crashed harder than a British guy at the local pub when he flunked his entrance exam. Just when all seemed lost, his dad found out. Well, according to him, a priest gave it to him, but it actually fell off a sketchy person. It's an enrollment letter for a place called Yokai Academy, like a power-up drop from a random NPC. With nothing to lose, Tsukune boarded a bus headed to this mysterious school. The bus driver warned him that Yokai was no ordinary school. As they drove, Tsukune, let's call him Kune, got a call from his cousin Kyoko. She'd been digging up dirt on Yokai Academy, probably hoping it wasn't a front for a villain's lair. But just as she was about to spill the tea, the call cut out as they passed through a tunnel. When they arrived, the surroundings screamed, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Dead trees, a red ocean." Yeah, this wasn't exactly the wholesome school trip he'd imagined. Before the bus driver pieced out, he gave Kune one last ominous tip. Watch your back. As Kune made his way toward the dorms, he heard a squeaking noise. His heart raced faster than a ninja in a foot race until he realized it was just a bat. With a sigh of relief, he didn't notice the bicycle zooming toward him. The inevitable crash sent both Kune and the bike's rider rolling on the ground. Kune's hand was on her thighs. She panicked, but when she moved her hair aside to apologize, her stunning beauty hit him like a spirit bomb. Nosebleed! The girl, blushing, offered him a handkerchief. She suddenly got woozy, babbling about a weird smell. Must have been the fish from her ocean, if you know what I mean. She said couldn't resist, but before we got a hang of her words, she leaned on him and gooned him dry. She introduced herself as Mocha. Mocha asked his thoughts on vampires. Still dazed but charmed, he replied, "No problem." She practically shoved her perky melons into him, thrilled at the idea of having a new friend. In homeroom, Kune met their teacher, Monsieur Nekonome, who seemed chill until she dropped the bomb that Yokai Academy was a school for monsters, like signing up for a cooking class and finding out it's a boot camp for ninjas. Kune was floored, wondering if this was some elaborate prank. Monsieur Nekonome explained that since humans ran the world, monsters had to blend in. A student named Saizo Kamiya interrupted, declaring his preference for eating humans over coexisting with them. Kune tried to make himself invisible, but it didn't help. And Monsieur Nekonome scolded Saizo, reminding everyone that any human found on campus would be, executed. Kune's life flashed before his eyes, until Mocha barged in, diffusing the situation by getting everyone's attention with her cuteness, but she runs up to Kune and dipped him right into her melons. As Kune and Mocha explored the campus, he couldn't stop thinking about the school's dark side. Meanwhile, Mocha had the boys drooling, while Kune became public enemy number one for getting close to her. They ended up at a vending machine, both reaching for drinks at the same time, causing an awkward hand-touch moment. Mocha laughed, but things took a turn when Saizo showed up, flexing his muscles. Saizo knocked Kune into the vending machine like a low-level grunt trying to prove his worth. Kune, on the other hand, was dying to know if Mocha was really a vampire. She pointed to her rosary. My bad, guys. She opened up her melons just to show him her rosary, but the dumb monkey was looking at her melons and didn't pay a single shred of attention to her rosary until she mentioned it. She explained that removing it would turn her into a super strong, scary vampire. Kune believed she'd still be the same person inside. Mocha, touched by his words, shoved her melons into him, saying he was her first real friend and the first human whose blood she'd ever tasted. Before Kune could run for his life, she leaned in for another bite. Panicking, he blurted out some excuse and bolted. Kune started packing, planning to bail on Yokai Academy faster than a mecha pilot ejects when things go south. But Mocha found him, begging him to stay, explaining how lonely she'd felt among humans. Kune finally revealed his secret. He was human. Mocha had mixed feelings, but when he yelled at her to stay away and that he didn't want monster friends, she looked crushed. Feeling guilty, Kune ran off into the night. Desperate to find the bus stop, Kune was soon pursued by both Mocha and Saizo. Saizo caught up to Mocha first, revealing his true monster form, thinking the rules didn't apply. He tongue-lashed her and poured his slime all over her. Kune heard Mocha scream and ran back, trying to save her. Saizo easily overpowered him, mocking his weakness. Mocha found Kune, apologizing for getting him hurt, admitting she'd always wanted a friend, human or monster, but doubted anyone would ever accept her as a vampire. Kune was hit and jumped into her melons and mistakenly removed the rosary. Q Power Rangers transformation beast morphers, bats surround her like the Dark Knight, and a new personality was born with even bigger juicy melons, added fleshy buns, her pink hair turned Silva, and a voice that's got me reaching. She wastes Saizo in seconds. When Kune woke up, he was bleeding, and Mocha, who's back to her sweet pink Barbie clappable princess we know, jumps in for another bite. Kune was relieved to discover that at least one good thing about Yokai Academy was that everyone got their own dorm room. Imogene's sleeping in a room with a werewolf, and it's a full moon. Damn. The next morning, though, he noticed some of his dorm mates struggling to keep their human forms intact while they slept. As Kune headed to school, he spotted 3 boys staring at Mocha like she was the last limited edition figure at an anime convention. Before he could even wonder what kind of love spell they were under, Mocha saw him and eagerly grabbed his arm into her melons, dragging him along. Kune was both surprised and delighted, trying to keep his cool despite the overwhelming sense of am I in a dating sim. Meanwhile, the boys glared at him with jealousy that could rival a yandere. Rumors were already flying around that Kune had defeated Saizo, but the story had been exaggerated so much that it sounded like he'd gone Super Saiyan and saved the school from total destruction. When they were finally alone, Mocha offered her help, acknowledging one's humanity with a sincerity that caught him off guard. Grateful, Kune started to wonder which version of Mocha was the real one. The gentle girl in front of him or the fierce vampire who I wish would clap the shit out of me. Suddenly, Mocha swayed on her feet, admitting that she'd skipped breakfast. Before Kune could offer her a Snickers, she leaned in and had for herself a fresh draw of his tomato juice. At a school pond, Kune checked his neck in the water's reflection, noting that while Mocha's bite had left lipstick marks, at least there were no scars. He started worrying about his future. If Mocha kept snacking on him like this, he'd turn into a walking juice box. Plus, there was the whole mystery of what other surprises his classmates might be hiding. Just then, he spotted a beautiful girl who had collapsed nearby. She's basically in a doggy position, and oh my god, what are those melons? She asked for help with an innocent smile that felt a little too good to be true, but Kune agreed to escort her to the nurse's office. Kurumu kept pressing her melons on him like she desperately needed his Excalibur. She hypnotized him, but just then, Mocha showed up, and the girl introduced herself as Kurumu and mentioned they were in the same class. Heartbroken, Mocha watched him walk away with Kurumu, confused by his own sudden meanness. In class, the spell lifted, and Kune immediately regretted his hurtful words towards Mocha. After class, Kune tried to apologize to Mocha, but she was already gone, nursing her wounds with a carton of tomato juice, this time an actual tomato juice in a can. As she sipped her juice, Mocha wondered about Kurumu, who boldly approached her like a rival in a love triangle. Kurumu openly vented her jealousy over Mocha's popularity. Kune found them just in time to attempt another apology, but Kurumu wasn't done with him yet. She hypnotized him again, making him insult Mocha about her vampiric habits. Mocha tried to talk sense into Kune, but Kurumu revealed that she had sniffed out his human scent, confirming her suspicions. Heartbroken by one final spell-induced insult, Mocha ran off in tears, leaving Kurumu to revel in her temporary victory. At the nurse's office, Kune was weighed down with guilt for hurting Mocha yet again, while Kurumu internally gloated. She decided it was time to place Kune under her spell for good. She's determined to save him. Mocha rushed to the nurse's office, but her inner voice fell silent, heightening her sense of urgency. Back at the nurse's office, Kurumu had Kune pinned down, ready to clap the sheets out of him. Kune, mustering all his strength, managed to break free and hug her instead, throwing Kurumu completely off balance. Confused and stunned, Kurumu tried to escape his grasp and reassert control, but Kune confessed that he cared for someone else, someone he couldn't leave hurt. Overwhelmed, Kurumu broke into a fit, asking if he really preferred Mocha over her. She admitted that she had degraded herself to win him over, and realizing she had lost, she decided to end it all by transforming into her monstrous form. Just as Kune started to panic, Mocha burst in like a one-woman cavalry and pushed Kurumu through the window, sending her flying far into the distance. Kune, still puzzled by everything, listened as Mocha explained that Kurumu was a succubus capable of entrancing men. This revelation clarified all of Kune's earlier inexplicable actions, but before he could process it, Kurumu returned, gripping Kune by the throat with her tail and pulling him outside. Mocha clung on, but unable to sustain the weight of both, Kurumu dropped them into the woods below. The other Mocha was forced out, and she whooped in seconds and returned back. As Kune sat at his desk, lost in thought about his average performance in the midterms, he couldn't help but overhear a conversation among 3 other male students who were struggling to maintain their human forms. It was like listening to a trio of titans trying to keep from transforming into full-blown kaiju. They were thrilled to be just a few places behind him in the standings. To his shock, though, Mocha had ranked 8th in the class. Suddenly, it felt like he was in a My Hero Academia episode, where Mocha was clearly all might, and he was more of a Mineta just trying to get by. Nearby, some male students couldn't help but note that Mocha wasn't just beautiful, she was also smart. Kune offered her his warmest congratulations, but Mocha brushed it off, calling it a fluke, as if she just won a casual game of Go Fish. She then made a surprising offer: she'd help him study for the next test. Yukari Sendo, a young prodigy who had skipped 4 grades, observed them intently. Despite being the smartest student in the school, the class president warned her not to push her luck. Irritated, Yukari retaliated by dropping wash tubs on his head and those of his 2 companions. Though Yukari found her prank amusing, her laughter quickly faded as the class president moved in, ready to retaliate. Mocha stepped in, urging him not to lay a hand on a girl. Later in the cafeteria, Yukari thanked Mocha for her timely intervention, while Kune and Mocha praised her intelligence. Yukari humbly dismissed it, admitting instead that she was smitten with Mocha and literally jumped on her and started having a wonderful time with her melons. In the nurse's office, Kune was getting treated for his injuries by Kurumu, who casually informed him that Yukari was actively trying to keep Mocha away from him. Seeing an opportunity, Kurumu tried to clap Kune, but just outside, Yukari was still up to her tricks. Using a voodoo doll, she controlled Kune's actions, making him do all sorts of nasty things to the succubus. Initially, Yukari seemed shocked at Kune's blunt advice, but she quickly shifted to arrogance, stating she didn't need friends who weren't as smart as her. She added that she'd always been alone, which hit Kune harder than a full counter from Meliodas. Kune saw the loneliness behind Yukari's words and tried to reach out, but his efforts were met with another prank. Yukari laughed and dashed out of the classroom. Mocha stopped Kun from chasing her, pointing out that Yukari was just a kid and hurting inside. Lol, this kid should be hurting on the outside too. Yukari was lost in her thoughts, reflecting on her lonely life at yokai. No one liked her because they believed she used magic to cheat her way to good grades. Just as she was musing, the class president and his posse confronted her, intent on teaching her a lesson for breaking the school's primary rule. Back in the classroom, Mocha continued to press Kune, saying that Yukari's loneliness mirrored his own situation. But Kune, still upset from Yukari's pranks, was hardly in the mood to listen. Mocha dashed out of the classroom, declaring she was going to find Yukari. Kurumu then revealed to Kune that witches like Yukari are neither monsters nor humans, but something in between. In the woods, Yukari hugged Mocha tightly. The lizard men were irked by the interruption, but when Yukari bit the class president's tail, Kune stepped in, taking a swipe intended for her. He told Yukari he knew the feeling of loneliness too. Realizing he was injured while saving her, Yukari felt a surge of guilt. Just then, Kurumu swooped in, saving them from becoming lizard lunch. Kune stood in front of his friends, ready to protect them. This act made Kurumu swoon, like Hinata from Naruto seeing Naruto in action, but injured and off balance, Kuni removed Mocha's Rosario, Q Power Rangers transformation, melon increase, and buns increase. She whipped the lizard men in 1 minute. Yukari had turned over a new leaf. She apologized to her classmates for her pranks, and they reciprocated, admitting their prejudice. When Mocha and Kurumu arrived, they found Yukari hugging Kune. Yukari announced her classroom was next door and she'd visit often now, loving Kun as much as she loved Mocha. This sparked a tug of war between Kurumu and Yukari, each pulling at Kune. Mocha finally declared that Kune was hers and proceeded to bite him. Later on the school's rooftop, Mocha senses something is off with Kune, initially attributing it to sleepiness. She tries to him dry, but Kurumu wasn't having it. Then Kurumu tried to use her juicy melons to seduce him, but Mocha was most definitely noi having it. While taking out the trash, Kune reflects on his odd circle of friends, realizing that in this bizarre world, he's managed to find his place, right in the middle of an anime harem that's more chaotic than a one-piece battle. Kune was ambushed by 3 of his so-called classmates, the self-proclaimed presidents of the fan club coalition. These guys had more enthusiasm than Team Rocket on a sugar rush and idolized Mocha, Yukari, and Kurumu to the point of unhealthy obsession. The beating began, but just as Kune was about to question all his life choices, a barrage of magically animated trash cans and brooms flew into the fray. It was Yukari coming to his rescue like some pint-sized magical girl, minus the sparkly transformation sequence. Mocha and Kurumu weren't far behind, arriving just in time to save the day. The 3 admirers were left slack-jawed as if they had just witnessed a Super Saiyan transformation for the first time. However, a stray bucket hit Kune square in the face, allowing the trio to make a hasty retreat. That night, nursing his wounds, Kune lay in bed contemplating his place at Yokai Academy. At lunch the next day, Kurumu and Yukari shared their experiences of being stalked by members of the Obsession Club. Mocha, however, hadn't had the same problem. Without explaining why, Kune ran off, leaving Mocha puzzled like a Sudoku game. As evening fell over Yokai Academy, Kune left his tidy dorm room, his resolve firming up like the main character at the end of an arc. Elsewhere, Yukari was cheerfully using her magic to clean the school grounds. She spotted Kune walking by the fence, his face serious, and immediately felt a pang of concern. Up on the roof, Mocha was lost in thought. Yukari comes up and they conclude that he's absconding from school. Kuni arrived at the bus stop waiting for the bus. Out of nowhere, the fan club coalition appeared behind him. Ku, one of its members, was upset that Kune had mentioned Mocha, whom they considered a sacred goddess, as if she were just a regular girl. They revealed their true forms. Before they could pound him to a pulp, the cavalry arrived. Kurumu grumbled about being the designated flyer, while Yukari apologized for forgetting her flying spell. Again, landing with all the grace of a pro wrestler, Kurumu quickly kicked Kubasaki, releasing Kune from his grip. Yukari conjured a chair for Kune to sit on. Mocha rushed to Kune's side, concerned for his well-being. He lamented needing to be saved, and Mocha slapped him, reminding him that friendship is about mutual support. Determined to handle the situation themselves, the Powerpuff Girls sprang into action. Yukari started to run away from Kubasaki, who was creeping her out more than any horror anime ever could. Kurumu had trouble landing hits on Bosabo's gelatinous form. While Mocha, unlike her alter ego, wasn't much of a fighter, Kune realized the only way to stop the relentless trio was to call them what they were, creepy stalkers. This struck a chord, triggering a wave of self-pity and further lowering their already fragile self-esteem. Fueled by resentment, they morphed into a combined powerful giant, like some sort of rejected mecha anime villain. With a single swing, they sent Kune flying. The true vampire was raised from the dead, and in 80 seconds, this useless obsession club was shown its place. Kune informed them he wasn't going home, just sending letters. Outer Mocha, now restored, sleepily clung to Kun, pleading for him to stay. Kune reassured himself that he would, turning off his now useless phone. The next day, Miss Nekomomi announced new payphones connecting to the human world and a more frequent bus schedule, which left Kune shocked. Mocha queried his thoughts, but before he could respond, she bit him in the middle of class, eliciting a mix of embarrassment and pain from Kune. Mocha thanked Kune privately for letting her suck his blood, sparking a daydream of an idyllic scene which was quickly interrupted by her painful bite. As she walked away, Kune wondered if she understood why he let her feed on him. When she called for him to hurry to class, he concluded she didn't. In class, Miss Nekomomi announced that everyone had to join a club to better understand humans. Kune's daydream distracted him, earning confused glances from Mocha and Kurumu. The duo checked out the club fare, but options like ghost photography and mummy science were too creepy, like horror anime clubs. The next day, Kune thought Mocha wouldn't show up because of the rain, but Miss Nekomomi humorously clarified that vampires aren't exactly like mermaids when it comes to water. Later, Kune found Mocha by the pool and apologized. Miss Nekomomi suggested they join the newspaper club, and with Hiru and Yukari joining too, she celebrated by jumping into the pool. Mocha, thrilled, sucked him dry again. The next morning, Mocha's routine blood-sucking left Kune so drained he joked that his death by anemia might become the newspaper club's next headline. Kurumu and Yukari's chaotic affections added to his exhaustion, making him wonder if he needed better health insurance. Arriving at the clubroom, they met Jin, who confidently gave flowers to Mocha and Kurumu, while Yukari got a wilted one, as if even flowers had given up on her magical girl charm. Miss Nekomome left them alone, and Jin proposed using the club to catch a peeping Tom on campus showing more interest in mischief than journalism, like a classic anime villain. Kune's suspicion grew when he caught Jin peeping under girls' skirts, but Jin cleverly framed Kun as the pervert, earning him slaps from Mocha and Kurumu. Hold up, I've been saying that this anime has more peach covers than plot armor. Later, Jin manipulated situations to further incriminate Kune, including taking photos near the girls' locker room. Despite Kurumu and Yukari's doubts, Kune became the school's scapegoat in a classic anime misunderstanding. Determined to clear Kune's name, Kurumu and Yukari played detectives, exposing flaws in Jin's stories. Cornered, Jin revealed his true form as a werewolf. The narrator Bat conveniently explained Jin's abilities as he attacked Mocha on the rooftop. Kun rushed to defend Mocha, accidentally removing her rosary seal. Transforming into her powerful inner self, Mocha confronted Jin, whose speed advantage disappeared as clouds covered the full moon. Talk about dramatic anime timing. Seizing the moment, Mocha delivered a decisive kick, sending Jin crashing through a guardrail and plummeting below as a defeated anime villain. The next day, the newspaper club circulated flyers proving one's innocence and outing Jin as the real peeper. As angry girls chased Jin across campus, Kuni tried to talk to Mocha about the ordeal, but nearly repeated his accidental peeping, earning him another swift kick, like a repeat gag in a comedy anime. Mocha began to apologize, but was irresistibly drawn to the scent of his blood. Despite Kurumu and Yukari's protest, she indulged in another bite, like a vampire with a crush on her food. After a successful day of newspaper sales, Mocha suggested they celebrate. Kune, Kurumu, and Yukari agreed, though Kune wondered where Jin had gone. Kurumu dismissed his absence, suspecting he was off flirting with girls, while Yukari labeled him the enemy of all women. Jin was later seen recruiting models for the newspaper club, because even villains needed to keep busy. Their attention then shifted to a quiet girl who seemed puzzled by the concept of friendship. She asked for a newspaper, which Kune supplied. The girl, intrigued by Kune, called him cute before leaving, like a mysterious character introduction in a new arc. In class, the teacher announced that the missing student, Mizore Shuki, was back. To everyone's shock, it was the mysterious girl from earlier. Kune, Mocha, and Kurumu were visibly stunned, their expressions mirroring those of characters who just discovered a major plot twist. Later, while planning the party, Kurumu tried to get close to Kune, but Mocha intervened, like the jealous love interest in every harem anime ever. Kune sensed someone watching him. It was Mizore. She admired his work in the Yokai Gazette, showing him a scrapbook filled with his articles and her disturbingly affectionate notes, like a yandere who just found her new obsession. Mizore believed Kune's writing reflected her loneliness, making him a kindred spirit. At a pond, Mizore skillfully skipped a stone, celebrating like a slice-of-life anime scene. Kun congratulated her but started to leave, sensing the party he was missing. Mizore grabbed him, her tone serious, cold winds swirling around them. She declared that Kune must be hers alone, hinting at dire consequences for Mocha if he refused, like the start of an intense love triangle in a supernatural anime. In the newspaper club room, Mocha waited, unaware of the storm brewing. The door creaked open. It was Mizore, dripping with water and radiating an ominous aura. She informed Mocha that Kune wouldn't be coming, her grip tightening around Mocha's neck. Mocha retaliated with a slap, causing part of Mizore's head to shatter. Mizore, revealing her ice powers, formed an ice blade, aiming to finish Mocha off. Mocha screamed for help, and Kune found himself on a frozen pond, with Mizore standing menacingly over him. She revealed herself as a snow fairy with the ability to control ice, encasing Kune's legs. Just as Kune began to lose hope, he heard Mocha's voice. Mizore was stunned to see Mocha being carried by Kurumu, who smashed a love potion-laced cake onto Mizore's ice puppet, saving the day. Furious, Mizore tried to block their path with a wall of ice, but but Kurumu crashed through it with Mocha, freeing Kune. Mizore lunged at Mocha, but Kune insisted he wasn't lonely and rejected Mizore's advances. Mizore screamed in frustration and vanished in a whirlwind of snow. As the ice weakened, the group plunged into the water below. Back in the newspaper club room, Mocha, Kuni, and Kurumu shivered from their icy ordeal. Hiru grumbled about her ruined cake, calling Mizore Frosty the Snow Skank, while Yukari sensed tension and stepped outside, finding a visibly shaken Miss Nekonomi, who revealed that Mizore was in serious trouble. They learned that Mr. Catbo was now in the hospital and Mizore was the prime suspect. Kune went in search of Mizore, finding her at the cliffs. He informed her of Mr. Catbo's condition and suggested apologizing might save her from expulsion. Instead, Mizore's emotions spiraled out of control, manifesting as a blizzard. Mocha, Kurumu, and Yukari arrived with photos revealing Mr. Catbo's inappropriate behavior. Mizore. Inner Mocha appeared after Kune pulled off the rosary, shattering the ice constructs and rescuing Kune and Mizore, advising her to choose life over despair. Back in the newspaper club room, everyone except Jin was bundled in blankets. Miss Nekonome thanked them for saving Mizore. Just then, Mizore entered with noticeably shorter hair, signaling a fresh start. Jin snapped a photo of her, and when questionable photos fell from his pocket, Kurumu and Yukari pummeled him. Mocha then turned to Kune, declaring she was thirsty, and without hesitation sank her fangs into him. Mizore watched from the doorway, quietly observing the scene. The next morning at Yokai Academy, students gawk at Monsieur Riko Kagum, who's damn. A fine specimen to be a monster, with melons dangling off her like a baby factory. You can tell she is a certified clapper. A gust of wind lifts her skirt, thrilling the boys, who soon Sanji out. Monsieur Riko laughs shyly. In math class, Kune struggles with the teachers bouncing melons like everyone else. Later on the school rooftop, Kune seeks academic help from Mocha, as his grades have suffered due to their chaotic adventures. Mocha invites him to her dorm for a study session. Kune, internally panicking about Melanie distractions and possible clappings, is interrupted by Kurumu, who offers to be his study buddy. Yukari claims she's a better tutor, while Mizore joins in, requesting help after her absence. Mocha suggests a group study in the newspaper club room. Yukari leads the session, with Mocha and Kune following along, Kurumu struggling, and Mizore lost in her world, writing Kune's name repeatedly. As the day ends, Kune and Mocha are at their lockers when Monsieur Riko dismisses their study session as ineffective, insisting Kune attend her tutoring instead. Kune shares his ordeal with his friends, noting Mizore's math obsession. The conversation shifts to summer break, with Kune daydreaming about a beach outing with the girls, a full-on Melanie fest. The next day, Kune is surprised by Monsieur Riko's unconventional outfit, meant to motivate him to study harder. She slyly hints at her heightened senses, especially regarding Kune's enticing human aroma, which makes him squirm. Monsieur Riko cryptically mentions the intensity of her private tutoring sessions, and she whips her tail a little, and before we know, our boy gets clapped. Later, Mocha checks in on her classmates' readiness for finals. Unsurprisingly, they're all a hot mess, confessing their unpreparedness. Hiru, desperate for math help, ties up Yukari and drags her along like a twisted Pokemon episode. They stumble upon Kune, mumbling math formulas like he's in a Death Note cram session. Kurumu eagerly asks him to tutor her, but he dodges her, leaving her to faceplant in the hallway. Mocha offers Kune her meticulously prepared notes, but senses something's off. Before she can investigate, Monsieur Riko shows up, inspecting the notebook like she's Light Yagami examining a Death Note. Irritated by Mocha's presence, Monsieur Riko whisks Kune away for more intensive tutoring, leaving Mocha second-guessing herself. As Mocha scribbles notes while humming an anime theme, a montage unfolds showing Kune's growing unresponsiveness to Kurumu, Yukari, and Mizore's attempts to reach him. It's like watching a Naruto filler arc where everyone tries to bring Kune back from the dark side. During a particularly intense session, Kune absent-mindedly mutters, "Where's Mocha?" Monsieur Riko, snapping like a teacher in assassination classroom, pushes him to work harder, revealing that his human scent is like catnip to her. Inside the tutoring room, somewhere along the lines of here, she pushed him to the floor and sat on his back and clapped the sheath out of him. It's revealed that Monsieur Riko is a half-human, half-snake monster, using a flower-like appendage to implant knowledge into Kune while zapping him with electric shocks. Like Evangelion, but with more math and less existential dread. Mocha, alerted by his cries, bursts in like a shonen protagonist about to save the day, but Monsieur Riko dismisses her as a nuisance and pressures Kune to keep studying. Suddenly, Mizore drops in from the ceiling like a Naruto ninja, freezing Monsieur Riko in her tracks. However, Monsieur Riko retaliates by knocking over candles, creating an accidental fire hazard straight out of K-On! Mocha hurls a candle at Monsieur Riko, pinning her to the wall in anger, scattering her carefully prepared notes. Kune snaps out of his trance, noticing Mocha's notes. Grateful, he clutches the notebook, determined to ace his finals, thinking, this feels like the final battle in an anime, but with math instead of epic sword fights. Just as Monsieur Riko is about to unleash her true powers, Kune yanks off Mocha's rosary, summoning Inner Mocha. Inner Mocha coolly asserts that Monsieur Rico is the one who's about to learn a lesson about humility. Mizora then encases Monsieur Rico in ice, sealing the deal. On the day of the final, Kune, nervously thankful to Mocha for her tutoring, scores 85% in math. Mizora scrapes by with 65%, Yukari aces it with 100%, but poor Kurumu falls short with 50%, earning her a ticket to summer school. It's like the aftermath of a My Hero Academia exam, with everyone feeling the weight of their scores. Kune waits at the bus stop when Mocha arrives looking ridiculously cute in her street clothes. He blushes, and Mocha, noticing, asks if something's wrong. He awkwardly waves it off, but his mind flashes back to when their teacher, Monsieur Nekonome, announced the newspaper club's trip to the human world. Kune, ever cautious, questioned the plan since it seemed risky, but Miss Nekonome, in her usual carefree manner, assured them it'd be fine if a teacher signed off on it. Back to the present, Kune and Mocha sit on a tree branch, straight out of Clannad. Mocha reminds Kune that she lived in the human world before coming to Yokai Academy. Kune, the eternal warrior, asks if she'll be okay going back. Mocha, excited and leaning on him, reassures him, adding that he'll protect her. They almost share a kiss, but of course Kuru's complaints interrupt them. Kurumu, Yukari, and Mizor arrive, noticing Kune and Mocha were already there. The pair clumsily climb down from the tree, laughing nervously. Monsieur Nekonomi finally arrives with the bus, driven by a stoic figure straight out of Spirited Away. Kune wonders where Jin is, and Yukari explains that he failed too many subjects, probably because he spent more time snapping photos than studying. We get a quick cut to Jin frantically taking makeup exams under Monsieur Rico's watchful eye. Kurumu laughs at his misfortune until Yukari points out she also flunked her math final. Surprisingly, the bus arrives in the human world without a hitch. Kune, recognizing the place, shouts that he's back home, shocking Mocha, who worries it might reveal his true nature. TIU, ever curious, asks why Kune seems so happy, almost like he's human. Mocha quickly covers, saying Kune used to live in the human world before Yokai Academy. Kune backs her up, saying he feels a deep attachment to the human world. The others agree, but Yukari remains suspicious. At the beach, they play with a ball, living out their best beach episode life, just like in One Piece. Yukari asks Kune if he's afraid of the human world, and he casually replies that Yokai Academy is way scarier. During the game, Mocha scratches herself while diving for the ball, causing Kune to worry, but it turns out she just got sand in her swimsuit, and when he looks at her, he cannot help but think of clapping her. Lost in thought, Kune gets hit by Mizora's powerful shot. Kurumu, relieved that Kune seems comfortable in the human world, briefly suspects he might be human, but brushes it off. Mocha changes the subject, and a playful dispute erupts between Kurumu and Yukari over the ball. Yukari nearly uses her magic, but Kune steps in to prevent it, reminding her they're among humans. Later, Kun and Mocha sit on the beach, enjoying the ocean's beauty. They lean in for a but Kurumu calls out to Kuni at the worst moment. Mocha's annoyance is relatable. Kurumu invites Kune to join her Yukari and Mizor in the water, but Kune, remembering that vampires can't swim, decides to stay with Mocha. Mocha, surprised, leans in for that elusive but Kurumu interrupts again, thinking Mocha's trying Kune's blood. Someone please put a leash on that succubus. This leads to a chaotic tug of war over Kune, who spirals into a panic, thinking Mocha's after his blood. As they argue, Kune spots a field of sunflowers on a nearby cliff and suggests they check it out for some peace. The group marvels at the sunflowers, wondering why they're perched on a hill near the beach. It's a serene moment like the calm before the storm in any good anime. But unbeknownst to them, an unknown figure watches from afar. A couple arrives at the hill, but the girl, clearly the smarter one, insists they leave immediately, warning of disappearances in the area and a rumored witch. Yukari overhears and wonders if another witch is around. Hiru, catching wind of the conversation, expresses concerns about witches abducting people for dark rituals. Yukari brushes it off, but Kurumu isn't convinced. The group decides to head back to the beach, unaware they're being watched by a mysterious girl named Ruby, who steps out of the sunflowers like a plot twist in waiting. Meanwhile, Monsieur Nekonomi prepares a seafood feast, despite already having a cooler full of food. Mocha, still suspicious, wonders if the whole trip was planned just to satisfy their teacher's craving for seafood. Yukari, feeling left out, notices the strange presence on the hill and decides to investigate. She meets Ruby, who introduces herself and asks to be friends. Yukari, thrilled at the prospect, accepts, but Ruby, suspicious of Kune when he appears, summons monstrous plants to attack him, thinking he's there to desecrate Witch Hill. Yukari, determined to protect her friends, destroys the plant monsters with a spell. Ruby, impressed by Yukari's resolve, decides to test her further. She restrains Yukari and orders more plants to attack Kune, but Yukari fights back, summoning her tarot cards to defeat the plants. As the battle rages on, Mizor and Kurumu arrive, concerned about Kune and Yukari. Mocha, noticing she and Kune are alone, tries to kiss him, but Ruby, still following her orders, injures Kune. He loses consciousness, and Mocha's scream breaks the seal, allowing her inner self to emerge, ready for revenge. Yukari, shocked by Ruby's actions, tries to reason with her, but Mizor starts freezing everything in sight, turning the battlefield into an ice rink. Kurumu, transforming, charges at Ruby, leading to an explosive clash that shakes Witch Hill. When Ruby woke up, she was in the newspaper club's tent, feeling like she'd been hit by a truck in an isekai anime. The girls had attacked her for hurting Kun, but just as she was about to fight back, Kun, ever the kind-hearted protagonist, offered her a cup of tea, wanting to hear her side of the story. The others were curious about Witch Hill's history, so Ruby began to share. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure watched from the shadows. Nearby, a couple at the hilltop sensed something off and quickly left. Rumors had been spreading about a witch's wrath over a development plan that threatened to bulldoze the hill and its sunflowers. Yukari, always curious, overheard and thought, another witch? This place is getting crowded? Hiru, after eavesdropping on the couple, expressed her concerns to Ari. She was against Yukari's family's rumored kidnapping spree. Yukari, with the smugness of someone who's seen one too many anime twists, called Hiru gullible. Hamu muttered that witches were a hassle, while Yukari, in true tsundere fashion, retorted that succubi were worse. Pumu, feeling a bit guilty, wondered if Yukari's harsh words had a deeper meaning. Out of nowhere, Yukari chucked a tub at Kurumu, channeling her inner Bakugu. The noise attracted a hidden figure among the sunflowers. Was it a ninja? No, just Kurumu demanding an explanation for the tub attack. Yukari, not done yet, threw another tub, turning this into an odd sport. The rest of the club arrived just in time to witness the showdown. Kune, ever the peacemaker, tried to calm things down, but Pumu complained about Yukari's antics. They decided to head back to the beach before Nikon freaked out about their absence. As they left, the mysterious figure emerged, revealing herself to be a girl around their age. She decided it was time to inform her ladyship about the potential presence of another witch. Meanwhile, Nikon was by the shore, catching fish for lunch despite having a cooler full of food. Mocha, ever suspicious, wondered if this trip was just an excuse for a seafood feast. Yukari offered to help Kune with the cooler, but he worried she might hurt herself. Kurumu stepped in, leaving Yukari feeling a bit deflated. Determined to be useful, Yukari tried to help with other tasks, but was politely turned away each time. Sitting on a nearby rock, she felt rejected, not realizing that coolers were heavy and she had zero cooking experience. Yukari's curiosity got the better of her when she noticed something on the hill. She decided to investigate, wondering if there really was another witch. As the moon cast its glow on the hill, Yukari spotted a figure in the shadows. Ready to go full magical girl, she approached the figure, who introduced herself as Ruby. Ruby asked if they could be friends, and Yukari, thrilled to have a new witchy companion, immediately agreed. Meanwhile, Nikon returned to the shore and noticed her tail had mysteriously reappeared. Mocha pointed it out, and Nikon quickly concocted a flimsy excuse. Kune, however, noticed Yukari was missing. On the hill, Ruby began sharing tales of the witches who had lived there and her ladyship's plan to protect the hill by, well, destroying humanity. Yukari was shocked, but before she could process this, Kune showed up, curious about Yukari's new friend. Ruby, thinking Kune was there to trash Witch Hill, summoned monstrous plants to attack him. Yukari, not about to let her friends get hurt, intervened, using her magic to turn the plants into salad. Seeing Yukari's strength and determination, Ruby began to question her motives. But just as she was about to have a change of heart, she restrained Yukari and ordered more plant monsters to attack Kune. Yukari, channeling her inner Yu-Gi-Oh, summoned powerful tarot cards, turning the plants into harmless foliage. The rest of the club arrived, and Ruby realized she might be outmatched. Ruby slipped away, pondering the lesson she had learned. She summoned her wand and returned home to talk to her ladyship, who wasn't as understanding as Ruby hoped. Conversations took a dark turn as Ruby was ensnared by vines, her spirit crushed. The newspaper club noticed Ruby's absence and rushed to Witch Hill, only to be ensnared by the vines as well. Ruby, now fully consumed by her ladyship's influence, commanded monstrous plants to attack. In a classic shonen anime moment, Kune managed to reach the house where he confronted her ladyship. He realized the old witch was long gone, leaving Ruby to deal with her grief alone. As Ruby's memories of her ladyship's final moments flooded back, she snapped, merging with the plant monsters to become a gigantic creature. The club knew they had to stop her to save her. In a fierce battle, Mocha broke free and destroyed Ruby's wand, causing a massive explosion. The next day, the club felt somber, but in a twist straight out of a slice-of-life anime, Nikon arrived with Jin, who was holding a peacefully sleeping Ruby. He explained that he found her floating in the ocean as if something had protected her. As the summer sun faded and the leaves began to change, the newspaper club returned to Yokai Academy with a fresh sense of determination. Mocha, with her usual blend of sweetness and curiosity, wondered if Tsukune had wanted to visit his parents while they were back in the human world. Tsukune, always the considerate guy, reassured her that he was fine, but the real kicker came when Mocha, with a teasing glint in her eye, mentioned that he seemed manlier since he first arrived at Yokai. Tsukune blushed harder than a schoolgirl in a shoujo manga, only for Mocha to playfully bite him once again. As Tsukune narrates his thoughts, he promises to make the most of his time at Yokai Academy, even if fate tries to pull him and Mocha apart like star-crossed lovers. The newspaper club, even the underdogs, had just printed up a new edition featuring their wild adventure at Witch Hill. But Tsukune, flipping through the pages, couldn't help but cringe at Kurumu's fashion tips, something even the narrator Bat pointed out, noting that those styles went out of fashion before the Edo period. Just as Tsukune was was trying to recover from the fashion faux pas, Mizora showed up, trying to coax Tsukuni into calling her his snow bunny. Kurumu, ever the tsundere, quickly shifted gears, pushing everyone to focus on getting their papers out. The real shocker? Kurumu actually cared about the newspaper, a revelation that hit harder than a plot twist in a mystery anime. But their efforts were thwarted when they reached the school gate and found 3 girls handing out a rival newspaper called the Yokai Square. Kurumu, as fiery as a Super Saiyan, confronted them, only to be met with the smug introduction of Kato, the president of the Super Newspaper Club. She explained with the kind of confidence only a villain can muster that their paper was so boring that they decided to create their own brand of journalism. The nerve! The regular newspaper club tried to distribute their paper, but it was no use. The students dismissed it faster than a filler episode. Drawn instead to the Yokai Square's colorful pages and swimsuit photos, it was like trying to compete with One Piece when you're just starting your pirate journey. Guys, this anime has less sauce, just has a lot of peach cover sightings and melon cover sightings. Kurumu, not one to back down, decided they needed a plan to save their club from being scrapped by the school. But consulting Jin was out of the question. He was probably too busy peeping on girls like a certain legendary pervert sage, and she was right. Jin was indeed up to no good, his camera clicking away as he spied on girls, completely oblivious to the Super Newspaper Club waltzing into the security committee's office. The next day, Kurumu decided to pull out all the stops. She forced Yukari into a maid outfit, thinking they could use cuteness and cookies to draw in readers for the Yokai Gazette. It was a solid plan until the Super Newspaper Club girls showed up in bikinis, offering free photos with every issue of Yokai Square. It was a showdown straight out of a Beach episode, with Kurumu left in shock, wondering if they could even compete. Yukari, meanwhile, was scared off by a pervert, only for Kurumu to deliver a knockout kick that sent the creep flying. A classic Team Rocket's blasting off again. Moment. Back in the club room, Kurumu tried to rally the troops, but it was clear they were up against more than just rival journalism. When Tsukuni, Mocha, and Jin arrived, Jin spilled the beans. Turns out the security committee was backing the Super Newspaper Club. It was like finding out that Aizen was behind everything all along. The committee had grown corrupt, drunk on power like a certain blonde Hokage we know, and they saw the Yokai Gazette as a threat. Jin, in his usual lazy fashion, told them to burn the papers and give up, but Kurumu wasn't having it. She refused to let all their hard work go up in flames. Tsukuni tried to comfort her, but before he could say much, the Super Newspaper Club girls showed up, taunting them and pulling the papers away with threads. Kido, revealing her true spider form, caught Tsukuni in her web and suspended him like a fly. The scene was more intense than a climactic battle in Attack on Titan. Kurumu found herself trapped, with the insectoid minions of Kato closing in. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, Mizora appeared, launching ice projectiles to distract Kato. Mocha and Yukari arrived, and with a quick tag team move, they freed Tsukuni, who removed Mocha's Rosario. Inner Mocha, as fierce as ever, made quick work of Kato's web and sent the villains crashing into their own trap. It was a beatdown worthy of Dragon Ball Z. After sealing herself away again, Inner Mocha left Tsukuni and the others to reflect on their next move. As they decided to expose the security committee's corruption, the scene cut to Kuyo, the committee's leader, who sneered as he planned his next move, like a villain about to drop the ultimate plot twist. The newspaper club may have won the battle, but the war for Yokai Academy was just beginning. The tension at Yokai Academy reached a boiling point as the newspaper club found themselves at odds with the corrupt security committee. After witnessing the committee's nefarious activities, extorting students for money, accepting bribes, and attacking those who dared skip class, the club knew they had to act. Armed with photographic evidence of the committee's misdeeds, they faced a new challenge: getting eyewitnesses to testify. The problem? Everyone was too terrified to speak out, fearing retribution. Just when it seemed like they were out of options, Mizore, ever the stealthy stalker, revealed that she had been tracking the fan club collection and had them lined up as witnesses. But when the newspaper club went to confront the fan club collection, they found something more horrifying than the idea of a filler arc, creepy items of Mocha, Kurumu, and Yukari's being hoarded like a shrine to their obsessions. Yet the real shock came when they discovered the fan club members were missing. A nervous student, clearly under duress, revealed that the security committee had taken them away. Another member, eyes wide with fear, tried to silence him, but the damage was done. Meanwhile, Kuyo, the head honcho of the security committee, received a report from one of his top goons. The fan club trio had been thoroughly persuaded, that is, beaten senseless, to keep their mouths shut. However, in their desperation, they let slip some valuable information, only adding fuel to Kuyo's fiery determination to crush the newspaper club once and for all. The next day, Tsukuni stumbled into class, exhausted from sleepless nights spent working to expose the committee. Mocha, ever the bloodthirsty vampire, noticed the tantalizing scent of his blood and moved in for a taste. Tsukune, knowing full well what she wanted, leaned in, ready to offer his neck. Just as Mocha's fangs glinted in the light, Kurumu burst in with a spin kick worthy of Street Fighter, knocking Mocha to the ground. "Are you trying to turn him into a zombie or something?" Kurumu scolded, reminding everyone they needed Tsukune at full strength if they were going to beat the committee. Yukari chimed in, agreeing wholeheartedly. Mizora popped up from her usual hiding spot, nonchalantly offering to stalk someone else into being their eyewitness. She clearly took the role of stalker to new levels, like a professional in a Death Note investigation. Outside the classroom, Jin, ever the perverted photographer, was up to his usual antics, snapping pictures of unsuspecting girls. But his hobby was interrupted when he noticed the security committee marching toward Miss Nekonomi's classroom with the kind of ominous aura you'd expect from the Akatsuki. In class, Kuyo barged in, his eyes locked on Tsukune. He coldly declared that Tsukune was under suspicion of being human, sending shockwaves through the room. Mocha, alarmed, silently wondered how they found out. Kurumu jumped to Tsukune's defense, arguing that humans couldn't even enter Yokai Academy. Mocha backed her up, but Kuyo wasn't having it. He accused the newspaper club members of being accessories to Tsukune's secret. With a flick of his wrist, he had them all arrested, dragging them out of the classroom like villains in a one-piece raid. Yukari tried to intervene, but was stopped by Jin, who grimly reminded her that she couldn't fight this battle alone. In the shrine that served as the security committee's lair, Tsukune was confronted with damning evidence. Kuyo played recordings of various students and teachers, including Saizo, Mr. Kotsubo, and Miss Ririko, all confirming Tsukune's humanity. The kicker? Kuyo then showed Tsukune his friends being interrogated. Kurumu and Mizore were questioned but remained adamant that Tsukune couldn't be human. After all, no human could survive at Yokai Academy without being exposed. But then, Kuyo presented the ace up his sleeve, Mocha. He pointed out that her craving for Tsukune's blood was proof he was human. Mocha, defiant as always, argued that his blood was simply delicious, not that it meant he was human. The interrogator, losing patience, began flicking pure water at Mocha, a form of torture for a vampire. As Mocha winced in pain, Tsukune's anger boiled over. He called Kuyo a demanding that he release Mocha, but Kuyo, cold and calculating, threatened to toss Mocha into the pond outside if she didn't cooperate. The situation grew even more dire when the fan club collection members were dragged into the room, battered and bruised. Kuyo taunted Tsukune, daring him to reveal his true form as a monster to save his friends. With Mocha's screams echoing in his ears, Tsukune did the only thing he could think of. He admitted he was human. Kuyo's response was a sinister laugh that could have rivaled any Dragon Ball Z villain. With a snap of his fingers, he revealed that Mocha, Kurumu, and Mizore were in the room all along, hidden by layers of illusions. Kurumu and Mizore were shocked, their faith in Tsukune shattered. Mocha, heartbroken, wept that Tsukune shouldn't have told the truth, no matter what happened to her. In a fit of anger, Kurumu slapped Mocha, realizing that she had known the truth all along. Amused by the chaos he had sown, Kuyo ordered his men to release Kurumu and Mizore, but to keep Mocha locked up. As Tsukune watched his friends walk out without a word, he felt the sting of betrayal and the weight of his impending doom. Kuyo, with ice in his veins, sentenced Tsukune to death for being human. Back at the newspaper club, Kurumu and Mizore broke the news to Jin and Yukari. The revelation hit them like a freight train. Yukari realized that Tsukune had been the only one happy to be in the human world during their trip, and Jin admitted that Tsukune was too clumsy to be a real monster. As Mizore left in silence, Jin advised the others to either make peace with the committee or lay low until the storm passed. Kurumu, struggling with her feelings, admitted she no longer viewed human men as mere slaves for succubi, but the pain of betrayal was still fresh. Suddenly, Kuyo's voice echoed through the school's PA system. He announced that Tsukune would be executed at 4:44 p.m. and invited the students to witness the event. A crowd quickly gathered, bloodthirsty and eager to see Tsukune's demise. Among them, a few students quietly voiced their discomfort, noting that while they disliked humans, killing one seemed too extreme. Their concerns were silenced when a committee member knocked them out, ensuring the crowd remained united in its bloodlust. As the faculty watched from a distance, Miss Nekonome was horrified, remembering that the academy was supposed to foster peaceful coexistence between humans and monsters. However, Mr. Kotsubo and Miss Ririko had different opinions, with Kotsubo even admitting he would have killed Tsukune himself if given the chance. Miss Nekonome was abruptly summoned to the director's office, leaving the scene in despair. Back at the newspaper club, Yukari was paralyzed by fear and sorrow. She wanted to save Tsukune, but Kurumu, now overwhelmed by her emotions, could only cry and hurl insults at both Tsukune and Mocha. As the sun began to set, Tsukune was led out to the execution site, bound and displayed like a sacrificial lamb. Below him, Kuyo grinned triumphantly, basking in the chaos he had orchestrated. In her cell, Mocha's anguished cries echoed as she realized she was powerless to save Tsukune. The episode ended with Tsukune's fate hanging by a thread, and the entire school poised to witness his final moments. Does he live? Does he die? Does he get more chance to clap more peaches, or does he get eaten? Does he survive another episode? Thrilling. If you like the video, make sure to check out one of these other two right here. Also, if you want to see the full plot-filled version, no restrictions, just subscribe to our Patreon in the description below.